Welcome back, guys. Thought I might start a new segment of the channel which will focus on little nitty gritty things that are involved in, let's say, putting the rear tailgate back together, or rebuilding it, sorry, I should say, which is exactly what I'm doing. Or I might even go back and start looking at things like how to do the single line brake conversion, so you can run the bigger Defender calipers, you know, the vented discs, and also running the bigger brake booster that's off, which I've put actually a disco one in mine. So yeah, I might start focusing on a few things like that along the way of the build, because I know there's a couple of people that have been interested that have asked me, you know, how have I done this, how have I done that, and obviously the best way to learn is via video, and I've watched that many videos to help me figure out certain aspects of the car, so anything I can give back is definitely worthwhile. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually start rebuilding the upper tailgate. I have got the original steel one, however it is slowly starting to rust away and I want to just eliminate that. It's still relatively good, I can clean it up and put it back on, but I thought whilst I'm here, whilst I've gone to this effort, I might as well replace it with an aluminium one. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to strip it apart, slide the glass out because I've got to reuse that, and then rebuild the new frame, which is made out of aluminium, and slide the glass in, and then, you know, put all the hinges and all that sort of stuff. So it's a new segment to the channel. I hope you guys like this. Let me know what you guys think, and hopefully we'll do a lot more of them. All right, let's crack into it. With the head of the bolt completely rounded, I had no other option other than to try and cut the bolt between the hinge and the frame. After all, I had some new hinges and I no longer needed the frame. The next thing to do was to remove the unit that pushes the rods to disengage the latches. This consisted of 2 countersunk screws to the underside of the frame. If your frame has the original seal, I'd recommend removing it and putting it somewhere safe, where you can later install. Here, I removed a seal that I jerry-rigged on the road to minimise dust ingress in the back. The next thing to do is to remove the 2 countersunk screws that are hidden behind the hinge mechanism. These screw into an L bracket that holds the sides to the bottom of the frame. Once the screws holding the L brackets are removed, prior to pulling the panel apart, you need to cut and remove any existing silicone holding the glass to the panel. When separating the panel from the glass, you need to be careful you don't warp the frame, as this will often cause the glass to break. With the glass removed, the next thing to do is to give it a really good clean, ensuring all silicone and grime is removed. A knife blade and a stainless steel wool will ensure the glass comes out as good as new. With the new frame unpacked, the next thing to do was to place the hinge plate into the slots at the top of each side rails. Using screws A in the kit, the next thing to do was to attach the top rail to both the left hand and right hand side. The next thing to do is to make some rubber pads. The rubber pads are what the glass sits on within the frame. With the pads installed, the next thing to do is to slide the glass carefully into place, ensuring that it sits centre of the frame. With the glass in, the next thing to do is to use screw C to connect the bottom rail to the rest of the frame. With the glass in place and the frame bolted up, the next thing to do is give the frame a really good clean using wax and grease remover, and then apply silicone to the outside face. Using SUD or a window cleaner, smoothen the silicone to the desired finish that you're after. With the silicone set, the next thing to do is to install the upper channel, which seals up against the car frame. The last thing to do is to install a small strip of aluminium angle that prevents the window wiper from coming too far up the window frame. With the silicone set, remove the clamps and begin installing the hinges and the pivot rods. With the hinges in place, the next thing to do is to install the bottom seal guide. To prevent water from entering inside the frame, install these little caps on the corner of the window. This closes that gap between the side rails and the bottom frame. One modification I wanted to do to the upper tailgate is change the location of the hydraulic arms. This will allow the upper tailgate to actually pull in when you close rather than constantly push out, which is why they sometimes lip up in the corners. So I made some mounting angles, drilled the right size holes for the hydraulic arms to anchor into, and then fixed these to the body of the car at the widest point of the upper tailgate seal. With the upper tailgate loosely in place, just check to see that it clears both on the left and right hand side C-pillar and that it also clears up the top. If the upper tailgate pulls on the seal at the top, that's not a major issue. This is largely because of the new rubber seal that you've got on if you've replaced that. If it is pulling it off, you'll need to use a product called Rubber Magic and spray the product onto the rubber and then close the door. This will then compress it and actually age the rubber quickly for you. Once the upper tailgate is roughly in place, the next thing you need to do is drill the new mounting positions for the hydraulic arm on the upper tailgate. The exact location you'll need to determine based on your open and closed position of the upper tailgate. With the new aluminium frame, I found the existing gas struts to be too aggressive on the upper tailgate, so I decided to purchase some new ones and downrated them to 200N. This meant the upper tailgate opened and closed nicely and wasn't too aggressive. Once you've installed the handle, the last thing to do is to install the bottom seal and also the two catches on the side. However, unfortunately, mine was still in transit, so I installed it at a later date.